Hello, this is Donna Reiners, and I just felt compelled. The word has been used lately, compelled. I just felt like going on live today, and I just want to share a little snippet of some things God has shown me. And one of them is that people are afraid of real love. And how do you know that? A lot of people have been abused and hurt. And in that place of abuse and hurt, they might ignore it for the time. But over time, that fear and that anxiousness that comes out when someone is telling them that they love them, what triggers out of them is, no you don't, not really. Because usually when you love somebody, usually there's an agenda attached to it. What do I gain from me loving you, right? What do I get if I love you? It's like going to the store, buying something. If I buy this, I get to drink it and I get the benefit from it. Well, many times that is how love is approached. And people can be afraid of love. Now, if you know someone who is always triggering you, always pushing buttons on your life, or someone that perhaps is demanding, perhaps acts scared, perhaps is having difficulty taking action. It could be that they were not loved appropriately at one point in time in their life, and now all that's inside of them. I was thinking very specifically, and I don't know that I've ever shared this. I probably have in some coaching sessions, but I was thinking this morning very intentionally about my mom. Now, my mom died when I was 18. And I thought about how, listen, this is real and raw with Donna, man. I thought about how when she passed under circumstances that were very painful for her. And how she spent a lot of time alone in that season because I was a kid. And the years prior to that, as a kid, I didn't realize what was going on. They shielded me from a lot of things. And so I wasn't home. And so as she approached a time in her life when she was going to be passing, well, I wasn't around. And the reason I wasn't around is because I was afraid to love her. I was afraid that she would leave me. And she did. She died. So it sucked. But I thought not being with her, somehow internally, that is how I protected myself. I protected myself from loving her, and I protected myself from her loving me because I didn't know how the story was going to end. Years later, I've seen the result in my life of that. I've seen how I was when it came to someone saying they love me and how I responded to them and how I acted with them. Because I thought, really, 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 do you? Do you really love me? Because all I knew on the inside was a mechanism of shutting down or running away from someone loving me, or shutting down and running away from me loving someone else. And so I was thinking about that. I was thinking about people who are trapped in self-harm and don't call it self-harm, don't realize it's self-harm. Self-harm can be anything from wanting to slit yourself, wanting to hang yourself, wanting to jump off a cliff, or you just don't like you so much that you don't eat right on a continual basis. You don't sleep intentionally. You maybe drink all the time, or you have some sort of mechanism on the inside of you that keeps you in a position to harm yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, intellectually, educationally. There are many avenues, many doors that can be open to you harming yourself. That too is a place where, in the position where you're harming you, I believe on the inside, every person is saying, though I'm not liking me, though I'm not loving me, would you love me? Would you like me? Would you help me? Would you stop me from harming myself? Would you stop me from killing myself? Would you stop me from all these things? And even though they may not want to stop, they may want to continue to get that drink that harms them, their kidneys. They may want to continue to drink that Starbucks thing that's so tasty day in and day out, day in and day out, even though physically it's wrecking their body. Even though they may do that, on the inside, I believe there's a place where every person wants to live. And sometimes we need someone to tell us that we can. Sometimes we need someone to actually prove to us that they love us and don't just speak it with words. So my mom, whom I didn't stay with and didn't spend time with, I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but I do regret not being there that summer before she passed. I regret not having that time with her, right? And then when I was able to have time with her, it was very fleeting. But in that place, I wonder what I would have turned into, what would happen within me if I had really chosen to love her. If I had chosen to meet her in her hurt and meet her in her pain. Maybe that's why I meet people in their pain today. Maybe that's part of the reason that I'm in it for the long haul today. Because maybe I short-sighted her in her long run. I don't know. But love itself is really more of a there's steps of love and steps that you take to not harm you. And I was considering today this work of not harming ourselves. This intention of, no, I'm going to love myself. And I thought, well, I'll have a little bit of transparency today. I'm not ready to fully disclose. But I've had some physical issues. And to the naked eye, I look fine. I look well. I look like all's good. But I'm not. And in that place where I've had these physical issues, I realized that I was moving in a very specific direction that was partnering with exhaustion, partnering with a touch of despair, a touch of, will this ever change? A touch of, am I ever going to get out of this physical mess? And I realized that emotionally, that I had moved into a place, not meaning to, but moved into a place which I call self-harm. Emotional self-harm. Because I'm having a physical issue that is so intense and at times so scary that I feel like I have to control. I feel like I have to do something to help myself. And so since physically I can only do so much every day until it bears the fruit of my daily decisions in a positive way, which is loving myself, I'm still sorting out the emotional place, trying to take hold and control so that the physical place won't feel so intense and so strong. So I just wanted to encourage somebody today to take heed of your thoughts, to take heed of those nudges that say, hey, this particular item is not good for you. This particular direction is not healthy for you. You might, if you're a really truly healthy person, maybe you can divulge ever so often in something. Let's say physically, you're very, very healthy and you have a strong constitution. And you might feel ever so often you can splurge and have something that is insanely bad for you. But because you're healthy, you can handle it. Because you're healthy, your body can process it. Listen, it's the same thing with your emotions. In that place of your emotions, you might be strong emotionally. You might have inside of you had enough change take place within you that when you're bombarded with junk, or you're bombarded with sick emotionally thoughts and feelings and things that want to suck the life out of you, that you are able to recognize it. But if you engage in that every day and you start to take that road of despair through one little depressing thought at a time, or through one little area of self-harm at a time, or, oh, I'm going to hide in this, or I'm going to hide in that, over time, it will weaken that emotional strength that you have. Over time, you won't be as strong as you think you are, and then you might get hit by something that is so catastrophic to you emotionally that you have to take literal, intentional steps to recover. Versus you have an emotional immune system that's strong because you have withstood some storms and you've kept yourself in a place where you're healthy, that when something occurs, you are able to withstand the storm that you face. Just want to strengthen you and encourage you today to take thought for what you eat with your mouth. Take thought for what you digest with your eyes. Take thought what you are inhaling, and consider what is good or not good for you, for not just today, but for the long term. And listen, I'm in a place physically where I'm having to drink some very specific things, eat some very specific things to strengthen this physical body. And I have found that in this time of strengthening my physical body, that God is strengthening my emotions, strengthening my mind, causing me to come into this place where I'm hearing and I'm seeing more clearly, that I'm taking action steps that are positive, that are not in the direction of self-harm. And people poo-poo on self-love, but listen, love is God. So you need to love yourself regardless. You need to love yourself with a fullness and an intensity. You need to love yourself as much as you love this child of yours, or this parent of yours, or this sibling of yours. You need to pour yourself into a place of love. Let yourself love you, because when you don't, you can take these little snippets of depression, these snippets of despair, these snippets of derailment and discouragement, and they can eventually turn it into a position of sabotage. And then you have to stop and you have to literally reconsider, okay, when did this start? Why did this start? And what the hey? So that you can turn your ship around, right? But you know, I believe that God is truly kind, and He would prefer that we not take the direction that pulls us into a whole circle of sabotage. He'd rather us not have to go round and around and around and around. He would much prefer we be able to stop, hear the thought of love, hear the thought of the Lord, hear the thought that leads us into righteousness and peace and joy. Hear that thought and take action with that thought. And I'm going to close with this. This might be kind of funny, but I had this little stone, and I purchased it with intention. And I was holding it the other day, and I was just kind of thinking about life and thinking about how Craig's grandma used to make these little boxes, and they were like worry boxes where you could hold on to it if you're worried. And I felt like I was being led to consider that this is not a worry stone. This is a worship stone. We do not worship stones. Listen to me. But God was showing me something. He's leading me into something. He's leading me through something. He's taking my life into a direction of to live. And he had me buy this on purpose. And so he's talking to me about worship instead of worry, about intention instead of irrationality. And it's a free-for-all, and we can do whatever we want. In the place of grace, I remember Bob Phillips saying years ago, his definition of grace was God's righteousness and corresponding enablement. And I still think that's a healthy direction, because grace leads us into saying yes and no. Grace is not a free-for-all, yay, it's all good, do whatever you want, anytime you want, however you want, because nobody cares word. No, grace leads you into loving yourself, leads you into loving others, leads you into making decisions that are righteous for you for the long term and not just for the next week. Righteousness that leads you away from stepping off that bridge. Righteousness that leads you away from cutting yourself. Righteousness that leads you away. Grace that leads you away from self-harm. This place of grace, when we activate this place of grace, we are enabled and we are empowered to love ourselves, to make decisions that are from a healthy place and not from a place of worry, but from a place of worshiping. Because we're going to worship something. We're always going to worship something. What you spend your time on is what we worship. Whether you feel like you're sick, or you feel like you're worried, or you're worried you're going to run out of something, or whatever you spend and meditate your time on processing and analyzing and thinking through, that basically is your time of worship, when you could have a time of intentional worship with the one who lives inside of you, the one who loves you, the one who wants you to love you with the same love that comes from him. It just takes a bit of intention and then follow up and follow through until you see the fruit that gets born from partnering with the one who lives inside you, that leads you into this righteous place of living and of life. I bless you this morning. This is Donna Reiners. Until soon. Bye-bye.